Hey, I'm here with my buddy Tom Craven. Tom was actually the very, very first person to ever book a lecture tour for me. I was a child back then. I stayed at your house. You booked me all over the Ohio area. But right now we're at the 50th Anniversary FFFF Convention, or Fechter's Finger Flicking Frolic. And there's been only one person to ever attend all 50 conventions, and that's my friend Tom Craven. Tom, do you remember the very, very first FFFF in 1971?
I sure do.
How many people do you think showed up?
There were about 35 or 36 people.
And do you remember any of them doing like spectacular magic or anything?
Well, I didn't. I was fairly new in magic, and I didn't know who any of the people were. I didn't know Eddie Fechter. I didn't know Frank Garcia or any of those people. And being new, if I had known the caliber of people that were there, I may never have come back. And here I am 50 years later, 50-some years later.
Amazing. Now, did you see Eddie work behind the bar at the time?
I did. Carl Norman was there, and Billy Dunn and Bill Okel, but of course Eddie was there, so it was an experience for me.
Was it run like a convention, or was it just like an informal party?
Informal party. There were no individual tables. We had like 4 8-foot tables end to end, and we all sat around the table, and they passed a deck of cards, and when the cards got to you, you did a trick. Not necessarily a card trick, but a trick.
Oh, that's cool. I never knew that. That's kind of cool.
And of course there were no women, no dealers, none of that stuff back then.
All right. And the second time, was it very similar?
A little less formal probably, and there were about 60-some people at that time, and I went to Obi afterwards, and I told him, I said, it's big enough now, let's not let it get any bigger. And here we are at 250 people.
Yeah. At what point did it stop feeling like a get-together and turned into a convention, you think?
Well, I'm going to think probably 6 or 7 years down the road. I mean, it grew to a larger point, and they started to make it more like a convention. They put a table up front, so we had performers there and so forth.
Yeah, I think I came around 1980 or 81, and it was already a table in the back. And there were like 2 shows, I think. But it kept growing. It was just the weekend, Friday, Saturday?
It was Friday and Saturday for a long time, and then Obi started doing Thursday, and then he went to Wednesday, and so. And to be honest, the guys I went with, we only went on Friday and Saturday for a long time. And then we kept hearing about all the good stuff we missed on Wednesday and Thursday, so we started going on Wednesday.
And now people show up here on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And they stick around till the following Monday.
It's amazing, yeah.
And, of course, back then you didn't have people from all over the world. Airfare was tremendous at that time.
It was, just New York, Canada, a few people from New England and Ohio and so forth.
You drove in from Ohio, or you were flying at the time?
No, we've driven it all the time.
Well, who did you come down with?
I used to come with Dan McDonald and Tim Williams, and Dan was when there were only 5 of us left that had been to every one, Dan was still one of them. So, but we used to drive there, yeah.
And out of the 50 years, is there any 1 or 2 moments that you remember vividly as being like wow moments?
Yeah, I don't know if you were here on Friday when I gave my little spiel, but the story about Herb Zero.
Oh yeah.
That sticks out in my mind always. And the first 2, not the first one, but the second and third, and 2 or 3 after the first one. The first thing that happened at the convention every year was Frank Garcia and Eddie had a sort of a competition thing. Eddie would do a trick, and then Frank would do one, and then Eddie would do one, and Frank would do it, and they would try to outdo each other.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's fun.
That was great.
And what's the Herb Zaro story? Maybe we could close off with that.
I was sitting there on one night. I can still see the seat I was seated in, and I don't know how the conversation came up, but somebody said that nobody could ever fool him with the Herb Zero, with the Zero Shuffle, and Herb was standing right behind me, and I said to him, what do you think of that? And he said, well, let me sit down, do 10 shuffles, I'll number them, and then see which one he thinks it was. And he sat down and he did the 10 shuffles, and he said to the guy, well, which one do you think it was? And the guy said, I'm going to be honest with you. He says, I really don't know. Which one was it? And Herb said they all were. So I never forgot that story, that moment.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Johnny Thompson has a similar story at Abbott's where he was with, I forgot who it was, and he had him do the shuffle, and the guy asked, well, when is Herb going to start doing the Zero Shuffle after doing like 10 of them?
Yeah. Well, you know, I'd just make a comment, too, that I made the other day. We were lucky coming here for this whole time because we rubbed shoulders and got to see people who were not only icons in magic, but they gave us the tools that we use, like Ascanio, Herb Zero, Alex Elmsley.
Derek Dingle. Everybody. You could go through the whole list.
Derek didn't have anything really named after him, but these other guys, Herb and them, they all were good. So.
Yeah, no, that's right. But thank you, Tom Craven.
You're
hope to
welcome.
see you at the 51st.
Well, I don't think I'll still be around then, but
no, you will. You will.
I hope so.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very much, Tom.
Thanks.